From Lion Knights to the Wolfpack, from big castles to small, and to the stunningly different, these are the incredible new castles proposed for Series 6 of the Bricklink Designer Programme. You have until October 18th to vote, link in the description below. There are other medieval style sets that aren't strictly castles. I will deal with those in a separate video. But for now, take up your sword and favourite faction shield, and let's go on an adventure. In no particular order, we will start with this, the Viking Fortress. It's a revamped model of a Series 5 submission that was originally entitled the Mouldy Rock, one that I was quite impressed with at the time. But this has taken things to a new level. I am definitely a fan of getting more Viking-style sets, and combining it with a fort like this is incredible to me, and this doesn't disappoint. There's some wonderful details throughout, fun play features galore. But first and foremost, it's just a pretty good thing to look at. You would not be shy to put this as a display piece. I know that I wouldn't. I like the combination of the wood structures with the stonework coming in as well. I mean, I live not too far away from Bandit Castle, probably better known to many as Bebbanburg from The Last Kingdom on Netflix. And it started out as a wooden fortress that over time was transformed into the incredible castle that still stands there today. So mixing that in with a love of the medieval and the Nordic inspiration of the Vikings, this really appeals to me. And of course, seeing the Wolfpack, that is definitely a big tick. We do need to have them return. And I think LEGO are going to get the message. You'll see quite a few Wolfpack-related sets coming up in this video. So even if it is just a prisoner, I appreciate it being in there. I think this is a fantastically designed build. There's a good amount of space on the inside. It's not too cramped. There's a super amount of texture and detail going on. Colours are absolutely fabulous. And it's one of those sets that grabs your attention and then keeps it. There's so many little things going on in this. And when it comes to castles, yes, I want something that's going to look fabulous on a display shelf because that is where it's going to spend most of its time. But I also want the ability to have it open up like this and to be able to relive the love of having a play with it. Or even if you are lucky and have a lot of space and have a great setup with a whole medieval world going on that this could slip into, there's so much fun to be had with this set. And for me, the castle theme, along with pirates, are at the very top of where that is most important. That fun play factor as well as just looking fantastic. So I really like this model. It is large, 3,955 pieces. So that's really close to the maximum of 4,000. Bear that in mind because there are a few that are large in this submission phase, Series 6. There can only be 5 winners overall, and most likely only one of those is actually going to be a castle. So it's going to have to do battle with quite a few, and there are some absolutely brilliant ones coming up. But what a place to start. I absolutely love it. Moving on then, number 2, we have the Lion's Keep. A very imposing modular castle, home once again to the Lion Knights. Now, I have said it before, and I'll say it again, having already had the Lion Knights castle, I really want to focus in on another faction. We've had the Black Falcons ticked off, thanks to the Mountain Fortress, obviously, from Bricklink previously. But once again, I'm pleased to see a couple of Wolfpack members making their way in there. And of course, I still do love the Lion Knights. It's not like I'm going to say no to another castle, especially when it's pretty cool looking like this. Bear in mind that this opens and closes as well as being modular. So there's multiple ways to access it, and it's certainly not shy on detail. There's quite a lot packed in here. Now, that does mean that in certain rooms, there's not going to be too many places that you can have your minifigures posed if you like to have them set up that way. But that's a very small gripe because there are plenty of places that you can put them. And again, look at the playability here. The way that this comes apart, there's no accessibility issues, so you can really set this up how you want and have some good fun with it. I'm not usually too much of a fan of rock pieces in this because, you know, it does put the piece count up and therefore the price, and I sometimes question whether they're necessary. But here, it really does add to this. Blends in wonderfully with the exterior work of the castle, which, may I just say, excellent choice of colours, some very nice detailing on it. It captures a very good look. So the combination of that, along with it opening up the modular side of things, and just being a really good looking design, I think this stands a very good chance. It's another big one, again, 3,989 pieces. There are a lot of sets that are taking it close to the maximum in this video. But that said, I don't feel like there's really any wasted pieces here. So for me, it's a really good job. On to number 3 then, and we have the Renegades of the Old Castle, an outpost for, yes, the Wolfpack. Are you getting the hint yet, LEGO? We want to see them return, want to give them a proper base of their own. Now, this is a very small castle, it has to be said. Piece count is 1,781 pieces, inspired by a haunted castle. However, despite its smaller stature, there is still plenty that the designer has put in here, so quite a bit of fun play features. The upside to this is, should it be chosen, it would be a much more affordable price. However, when it comes to these Bricklink programs, personally, I don't feel that price is the biggest issue. Of course, I don't want it to be outrageous, but with only 5 winners and more than likely only one of those actually being a castle, it does need to be really rather special. This is certainly a fun, good-looking little set. There's certain parts of it that I really like, particularly the jagged claw-like parts around the battlements here to potentially stop anybody from sieging the castle. And, you know, there's nice colours throughout. That said, it's not blowing me away. And I do think that some more colour could have been injected into this to just make it pop that little bit more. So certainly a nice job, but definitely not my favourite. We shall proceed then to this Highcourt Castle. This is actually the biggest out of all the castle submissions, 3,996 pieces. It's a beast. You've got the measurements from the fan designer down there. So you definitely need some space for this one if you're going to put it on display, that is for sure. First impressions are that overall shape-wise, it's not as immediately attention-grabbing as some of the ones we have coming up, but it definitely makes up for that in some of the detailing that's going on throughout this. And perhaps that's why I like this more than maybe I should, because trying to be a bit more dispassionate, it's not the most exciting of models. It doesn't have a really cool core concept. But that said, the things that it does do, it does really well. I feel like there's loads of room to position the different minifigures in here. The main hall is just pretty beautiful. The colours that have been chosen for the floor and also the ceiling, it's very clear that it's this room that has had most of the attention, that and some of the detailing on the exterior. I do think when we reach other parts of it, it's then let down. You know, you sort of almost run out of piece count. Doesn't have as much going on. I'm not saying that everything would be as grand as this section. Of course, it wouldn't, but it almost becomes a little bit too much of a stark contrast. Next up, we have the Brick Knight's Castle. And this immediately makes me feel like I'm being taken back to the classic roots of the medieval sets so many of us fell in love with. Of course, updated and made larger, but I look at this and sure, it looks pretty cool, but really all I actually want to do is start playing with it. There's lots of little intricacies going on in certain places, but then there are other parts that are almost quite bland, but then that's kind of how the original castle sets that I started out with as a kid were. They were quite fantastical, but certain parts of them were really quite simple. I don't really know how else to explain it. It's just transporting me back to being a kid and, you know, little things like this. A Wolfpack member popping out from a hidden section whilst something is being ejected from the garderobe above. I don't know, I think objectively it's not the most outstanding colour-wise. It goes with the fairly traditional palette that you would expect, and nothing pops too much. I do really like the shaping though, that appeals to me. And looking at the pictures on the inside, it's definitely cramped in certain places, quite bare in a lot of others. But then there's so much fun to other aspects of it. It has a sense of nostalgia. I really feel that. Maybe it's just me. Let me know in the comments below if you disagree. But something about this set does make me feel nostalgic, and for that reason, I really want it. However, in all fairness, once again, it's a very large set, and actually at this piece count, I feel that there should be more on the interior, and there are others that are better. But I have to take my hat off to the fan designer because they've managed to capture something here that transports me back, and for that reason, I really like it. Okay, next up is this, and before you sharpen your pitchforks and go on a witch hunt for me, I know this isn't really a castle like I said at the beginning of the video, and perhaps I should have included it in the other video I'm going to do of medieval sets, but I'm going to bend the rules a little bit and include towers, because I think this is really quite super. It combines my love of fantasy with the medieval theme, and as a tower goes, I think it's stunning. I love the wooden spire with the ivy and the creepers coming up it. The level of detail on the brickwork just here, if we zoom in, is wonderful. The way our fan designer has chosen to put in these textures along with the brick pieces, then up against the smooth of alternating colours, it just adds so much to it. It looks like the slightly rickety, ramshackle tower that you would find a witch lurking in. In fact, it gives me vibes of The Witcher. It's the sort of building you'd expect to come across when playing Wild Hunt, or of course in the Netflix series. Cannot wait for when they actually bring out a new Witcher game. Not a massive gamer, but huge fan of that. Anyway, getting off topic, there's lots of fun things that have been put on the inside. I mean, come on, what a place to store your wand next to a pink frog, Yorick's head, and a load of deadly potion vials. I think the biggest thing for me is the build-up of different layering that creates all this texture and adds to the depth. It's been wonderfully done. Piece count-wise, 2,800, still fairly sizable, but definitely smaller than most of the ones we've been looking at so far. I'd be really interested to know your thoughts on this one in the comments. Let me know down below. Personally, kind of love it. On to the next though, and it is this, the Desert Castle. Really quite different from anything else that's been proposed in this series. And sadly, I have to say it doesn't appeal to me. I like the concept, the idea of a desert-based castle. That's refreshing. But from a design point of view, this isn't the sort of thing that I would now expect to come nicely packaged up and ready to be a set. Doesn't look polished enough. No offense to the fan designer, I just have to say it how I see it. That's the whole point of these videos. For me, it's quite flat with the colours that have been chosen, definitely marks it down from a display point of view, and there's nothing really here that's inspiring me from a play point of view either. Of course, I applaud the different factions, the ideas for minifigures are great, horse and cart, absolutely yes please, but as far as the castle itself goes, there's just no wow factor here for me. Now of course, if you like it, make sure to follow that link in the description or just Google Bricklink Designer Program, head on over and vote, because your vote could very well count. So then, for another that's rather out the box, after all I had the Witch's Tower, so kind of had to choose the Wizard's Tower as well. I'll say this, I prefer the other one more, however, as far as an amazingly shaped, ramshackled looking tower goes, this one definitely takes the crown. It's pretty impressive. At just under 2,500 pieces, that is not a bad size either. Should come in at a reasonable price point if it was picked, and I don't think you'd be disappointed. That definitely stands out. Okay, love the shaping that's been captured there. Nice building technique. Fun suggestion for minifigures to be had as well. And this is a good use of colour. When I say on a couple of the other ones that they're not really popping, this has a good amount of contrast. Love, obviously, I was going to say a witch's hat on the top, but obviously this is supposed to be a wizard's one. But the additions of the bits of wood, along with the different colours used for the stonework, that all helps. But when you add in the pop of colour just from this tree here, it makes all the difference, I think, to taking a model that's a nifty idea into one that actually looks really good. You know, floor space-wise, this shouldn't actually take up that much space. It's obviously more of a height thing, depending on your home. That could be good or bad. But I think this would really catch the eye. Looks super awesome. Sure, there's not going to be a load of space on the inside, but you could still have fun with this. So I think it ticks the box from a playability aspect as well. And it's definitely different. Really stands out from the crowd. And yeah, it just has quite a bit of charm to it. I like it a lot. So again, I know it doesn't really fit the category of castle, and I probably should have put it in the other video I'm going to do just on the medieval sets, but, you know, not strictly castles, but I'm going to allow a tower. I really like this. It makes me smile. And that is something special, I think, with LEGO now. There's so many different sets, but when you just look at something and it puts a grin on your face, that is a big thumbs up from me. So we now head past the halfway point in our adventure and onto this, the Outlaw Forest Den. A wonderful stronghold for our Wolfpack. Immediate impressions just from this first image. Wow. Love it. The black tower with, of course, the Wolfpack flag, those pops of red, stark, menacing, ready for battle, but then we come down, got the wonderful texture of the rockwork here, this craggy hillside or mountain, and then the wonderful splashes of green and, of course, the blue of the river down there. Fantastic model, I do have to say. Love the portcullis, that's always a fun touch to have, and we've got a nice array of minifigures here, some animals as well, the bird, squirrel, etc., and of course our horse and cart. If you ever want to get a bonus point from me, stick a horse and cart in there. Now, of course, the important point is that it does open up. We have a decent amount of space on the inside. Again, a little bit cramped in certain places, but you could definitely fit a couple of minifigs in each of these. I think it does well from a play point of view. and size-wise pretty imposing, but not ridiculous. 2,452 pieces. I was actually a little bit surprised. I thought it was going to be more when I initially looked at this, because thanks to it opening up, there's a good amount of space and so much detail. It's been really well thought out. I think the fan designer here has done a very good job of doing exactly the right amount that's needed, not too much, not getting carried away with it, and producing a pretty fantastic model, I have to say. Our next contender is the Wolfpack Sandcastle. I told you there was going to be a lot of Wolfpack in these castles. It's what a lot of us want. This is a strange idea. Kind of fun in the way if it was going to be sort of an actual sand castle. I was expecting that to be kind of the joke, but it doesn't really hit it for me as being a sand castle in the literal sense of the term, as opposed to just a castle that's using sand-coloured pieces and isn't really very good from a display or play point of view. It's a very strange shape, but not for any particular reason, unless it's bypassing me. I could be missing something, in which case post in the comments below. But I kind of feel that it's just all odd angles that would actually make it a little bit irritating to try and put on display. I also don't like having pictures like this. It makes it very hard to look at. Can't really see what's going on. It looks very bland on the inside. Note for any fan designers, the problem with doing it like this is when you zoom in, you just don't get any quality to the images, so can't really see what's going on. I don't like it. I'm sorry. I think it has the roots of an interesting concept, but rather bland on the inside. I don't see any play factors here. I can't tell from the images, and the whole shaping that's going on just looks weird. What I do like the look of more, though, is this, the Fort by the River. It seems to have a little bit more story behind it. And when I say that, I don't mean in the description. Yes, there's stuff that's been put here, but I don't ever bother to read that. I like to let the images do the talking. And this sort of speaks to me more. I think it has more character about it. Size-wise, just shy of 3,900 pieces, so it is a big fella again. I find the way that it's been put together with some of the shaping really quite interesting. So I think building wise could be fun to put together. There are certainly splashes of colour throughout, although there is a lot of the same colour when it comes to the brickwork. We've seen in some of the other submissions how just throwing in a little bit of other texture can really help make a difference. I think this needs it here. That would be one negative. However, plenty of positives. Moving portcullis. There's lots of different places on the inside. Quite cramped, but clearly room to actually put, skeleton minifigures in, etc. So I think it's fair to say that there's plenty of fun that could be had in this. I do get the feeling that a little bit too much has tried to be cramped into it. Perhaps it could have done with just being a little bit smaller, lose a couple of rooms, make the existing ones not quite so cramped. Sometimes less can be more, but it's certainly a very long way from being bad. It's a pretty decent model. Not the best I think we've seen so far, and still some better ones to come. But that's more simply to complement the strength of the competition rather than to try and put this down, because actually it's got a lot going for it and it's very nice in a lot of ways. So on to this, Wolf of the Swamp by Delusion Brick. I had the pleasure of getting a sneak preview of this during the interview that I did with him on his wonderful Goonies set, but it was only a couple of images at the time, so this is the first I'm seeing the full thing in its glory, and it's pretty damn impressive. I know it's not really a castle, so again, it should probably be in the medieval video I'm going to do, but a bit like the towers, it's just super special. And while you should probably class it more as a temple if we want to be literal, what an incredible design. Just look at this. My friend, that is beautiful shaping. It's art. It is Lego art, plain and simple. The amazing choice of colours here, the way that pieces are going off in all different directions. It's not easy to do something like this. And it would be an absolute pleasure to build. You would definitely learn something while putting this together. I know that I would. This is a home for the Wolfpack, but you know what it also kind of is in a very clever way? It's kind of The Witcher. It could easily be School of the Wolf Temple where you're going to find some Witcher gear, but it's not, and that's very important from third-party IP point of view. So it is Wolfpack, but, for Witcher fans out there, this is also a wonderful way to incorporate that, and this stands out so differently from everything else that has been submitted in, I was going to say the medieval lineup, but to be honest, the entire rest of this Series 6 lineup, I think it's outstanding. I really, really want it. I think it stands an extremely strong chance of being one of the 5 finalists because it kind of ticks all the boxes. It's an amazing looking build, really different, super cool concept, would look incredible on display, has so much fun, impactful story behind it. From a play point of view, it's Wolfpack. It kind of appeals to Witcher fans as well. It's just like a long running list of all the things that it's ticking off. Vangelis has also put in a pretty long description of kind of the story behind it as well. So I do suggest go and read that to you. It's kind of cool. It's been very, very well thought out. I mean, look at that. Old tree to guardian. You know, I like, obviously, the designs that he does, but this is knocking it out the park. Let me know what you think of it down in the comments. And of course, if you like it, go and give it a vote. I kind of think it's going to be getting one of mine. 2,178 pieces, and what pieces they are. This also means that it would come in, or should come in, at a good price. I kind of feel that this has got everything going for it. On to the final 3 now, though, and we have the Abandoned Castle. And this time we have Wolfpack members and also the Lion Knights who are riding through. And there's some pretty decent shaping going on here. I mean, true, it's nothing like the extreme shapes that we were having in the previous design that we were just looking at. But it's still pretty impressive throughout. Immediately strikes me as being a fun model. Now, size-wise, I was a bit taken aback. Again, it's right up at the top end, 3,994 pieces. That's, again, topping it out. And I'm kind of struggling to see where all those pieces have gone. Yes, these are all a nice touch. Goat and the pig, humorous. Good to see that he's using a carrot and not a stick. But in all seriousness, yes, the piece count means that you're going to be able to get in a load of minifigs, or minifigs and statues. But this does not look like it should be that many pieces. It's just not that big of a build. It doesn't seem to be offering that much playability-wise, or really from a display factor. So it's good, but I feel like it should be 1,000 pieces less, to be honest. It just doesn't have enough to it to warrant being that big, and therefore top-end price-wise. So not my favourite, I have to say. Our penultimate set is the last for the Wolfpack in the lineup. Now, this is one that we've seen before in Series 5. It's been redone for Series 6, made a little bit smaller, so the piece count is less, close to the 3,000 mark, which I believe I said at the time on the previous one needed to happen. And I'm very pleased to say that I think it's an excellent choice, because this is now looking a lot more like it. You've got a decent amount of space to place minifigures on. I love the lava, the way that it's been done with the black rocks, the red and orange trans pieces over the base plate. It's super, really, really effective. And then, of course, the mixture of the dark and light grey. That's absolutely fine. We've got so much colour with the roof tiles and the lava that actually this works very well, especially when you then look at the added colour that's been put in those windows. It's another one where I feel that actually taking away the pieces, as the designer has done, making it smaller, is an excellent choice, because now everything is exactly as it needs to be. There's no waste. It would be a decent price again. Well, as decent as Lego and Bricklink get with these things. It's just captured that menacing look so brilliantly. One thing that I would have loved, and I think they did it in an episode of Lego Masters one time, I forget which one, but basically it was a really menacing looking castle like this. It was all like pink and there was teddy bears and things, so it was like this menacing lord who actually was trying to hide the fact that he was a big softie. I'm not expecting that here. It'd actually ruin it. But do you know what? It would make it very funny if just like in the trunk or somewhere on the bed, there was actually like some pink bed sheets or something stupid. But just from a humour point of view, I think that would be fun. Silliness aside, though, what a wonderful fort. I think it ticks all the boxes. Very strong submission once again. And that brings us to this, the Red Rose Castle. And immediately with this big moon in the background makes me think of a werewolf and the Meatloaf song about that and red roses, for anybody who knows the reference. But what a wonderful Gothic styling, and again, so much going on here, layering and texture-wise. Now, I have to say that I do feel this shares a similar base concept to the Adventure in Transylvania castle that has won Series 5, so it's going to be a finalist for Series 5. And I absolutely adore this. It's probably one of the best LEGO models that I've ever seen, be it as a fan model or, an official LEGO set. I said that at the time in the videos. I'm very much looking forward to trying to order this, and I say trying because I'm pretty sure it's going to sell out in a matter of hours. This is, a similar style. Unfortunately, I think that might go against it because you don't want something that's kind of got the same, core route, certainly not straight away in the next series after it. There's a lot going for it. I love the shaping, absolutely adore it. I'm not such a big fan of the colours. Again, sorry to hark on, but look at the amazing colours on this as opposed to that. It's perhaps unfair to be comparing the two, but I kind of can't not draw parallels, and I don't think I'll be alone there either. So this is pretty amazing. I have to say, if this hadn't have happened and I was now coming across this, I would be going crazy about it because it is very clever. There's so much going on. I do think it would look like an amazing model, but though it's just not as good as the Adventure in Transylvania for me and comes too hot on its heels. That negativity aside though, leaving it on a positive, what an outstanding build. I don't think I could do something like this. Again, it's the sort of thing I'm pretty sure you'd learn stuff as you were building it. What an incredible display piece it would be, and I'm sure there's plenty of fun that could be had with it as well. So in that respect, definitely deserving of a vote, and it is refreshing in many ways. Big set again, just shy of the maximum, but you can see all the different types of pieces that have been put to use in this. It would be a real centerpiece and a bit of a showstopper of a build. But there we go. Those are all the castles and a couple of bonus ones from Series 6. I'll bring you a separate video on the other medieval sets that aren't actually castles, but there's some really great ones in there, so make sure to subscribe. Please consider liking, comment down below, and don't forget to vote. Thanks for watching. Check out one of these two videos next, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.